Hey guys, I'm Shalom.
And I'm Liam. So I'll start with what happened. I uh I was doing a live stream, a marathon subathon sponsorthon live stream, going to be the longest live stream that I had done so far or have done so far. Even I think even still, it's probably still the longest one I've ever done. Uh, and I decided to go downstairs in the middle of the live stream. I just went downstairs, took a little break, took a little smoke break, decided to hit the bong,
Hmm.
and apparently I decided to hit the bong a lot harder than I was able to uh physically, and I inhaled too much air and apparently popped a hole in my lungs, so to speak, to put it simply. And so I like ripped the hole in the back of my right lung while I took this toke out of the bong. Um and then so I at the time I didn't really like feel it, like I didn't feel a big explosion, a bunch of pain in my back or in my chest or anything like that. I just took a big toke like normal, like pretty much. Cause it doesn't feel good when you're inhaling carcinogenic smoke,
Hmm.
obviously. And so that probably is what masked the feeling. And
Right.
so I start, and of course the fact that I'm already high and getting higher. Um, and then I just do my thing, exhale, blah blah blah, and then go upstairs, and I just start playing my game, streaming, and then all of a sudden, like out of nowhere, my back starts hurting. Like my middle back, sort of upper middle back starts hurting. I'm like, oh, that's weird. And
Do you really think anything of it though? Because you also have don't you have like pre-existing back problems? So did you just think it was like acting up?
at first, yeah, absolutely. I was just like, oh, my back hurts. Yeah, that's weird because I didn't really like. I think, well, that's it. No, it happens all the time. My back just doesn't feel comfortable. But this was kind of different in that it just out of the blue, it's like a switch flipped, and it was just like, oh, it's kind of uncomfortable. It's quite uncomfortable there for some reason, and it just like popped out of nowhere. And then quickly after that, I noticed that my right shoulder blade got really uncomfortable and started hurting as well. Like for some, like my lower right shoulder blade. And I was like, okay, well, that's kind of weird. And then my chest started hurting a little bit. And my, I was just kind of confused. Like my chest was like very slightly hurting. And it was like, okay, well, now my chest sort of feels like it's getting like squished. Like my rib cage feels like it's crushing my, like very slightly crushing my, like my lungs and my heart kind of. And I'm just like standing up
Hmm.
straight and I was like, this is kind of weird. Like mainly the feeling was most prominent in my back,
Yeah.
which I know now where the hole was. And so
Yeah.
I was just sitting there and I was like talking to chat and I was like, my back really hurts and like my arm kind of hurts. I'm just gonna lay down real quick because usually when I just lay on the ground on like a relatively hard surface, it forces my back to be relatively straight and it feels a lot better generally. And so I did
Hmm.
that, and it did really help. Meanwhile, I was sort of getting a little bit anxious, and because this sort of didn't really come on all of a sudden ever before like this. And all the
Hmm.
meanwhile, I was getting kind of anxious and worried, like, this is weird. And I was also getting a little bit short of breath at the time. And I didn't really think anything of it because if I'm getting anxious and worried, I'm not really thinking about everything. My shortness of breath isn't really apparent because I'm not really taking deep breaths. And
Right.
then,
Right.
and so when I'm laying on the ground, I'm like, oh yeah, it's like, this is a lot more relieving, but it's definitely not going away. It's weird, and it's like and I tried to like roll, or like I tried to sit up, and then it just like hit me like really hard, like a bunch of like a huge pressure and underneath my ribs, like basically like crushing down. It felt like crushing my heart and crushing my lungs. And I was like, okay, well that's not right. I don't like that. And I thought I was having a heart attack because when I was laying on my back, it was still hurting, but it was a lot less pressure on my front. And I was just getting really anxious and shit, and my heart was beating really hard against my rib cage. But then I sit up, and it just the pressure just gets extremely more prominent, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And then I was just like, I'm in a lot of pain, and I'm really like, I don't know what the hell is going on. So I want to call 911. Like I want to go to the hospital. And so like I was just like laying down on the ground in sort of like up at the top of my stairs, because I didn't lay down in my room because like my room's kind of a mess. And I would like during this subathon I had a bunch of just like shit everywhere because I was like opening up Pokemon packs and shit. Anyways,
Right.
so I decided to lay down like in the like outside my door, right in like the hallway area. It's not a hallway, but it's like the landing above the stairs. And
Okay.
I just slowly start crawling back to the computer, um, and trying to, because I needed to get like, I want to just like tell chat like update them
What's
like what
going
the fuck
on?
is going on, and but like I
How long were
couldn't,
you laying on the ground for? How long did
um,
chat just see you gone for?
probably like at least like 5 minutes,
Okay,
um.
okay.
At least, and I'm like crawling back with my legs dragging me sort of like using my elbows to inch me forward, like feet first towards my computer because I couldn't like sit up or anything. And I make my way over to the computer, or I get close enough, and I'm like talking to chat, trying to talk to chat. I'm like, hey, can you guys hear me? I I think I'm having a heart attack. I I need to call 911, but
Were you getting
I can't.
like a lot of tips at that point?
Well, I mean, I couldn't even read chat because I couldn't look at the screen because I was all the way down
Oh,
there. But
right.
yeah, I was like,
Right.
I wasn't even 100% sure they could hear me. And so I was just saying, like, I don't even know if you guys can hear me. I don't know if my mic was muted, if I muted it before I went and laid down. But I was saying, like, yeah, I can't get up because it hurts too much. And they were just like, looking back now, they're just like, what the fuck? Call 911, like, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, like
And,
get off the stream.
yeah. And, one of my mods was like trying to call me on Discord, like, what the fuck is going on? And it was just like, but my phone was on my desk. So I couldn't, like, it was on the top of my desk. So I couldn't even,
reach
I
it.
couldn't even get up to grab my phone. Luckily, my headphones were plugged into my phone, and the cord was dangling off of off of like the top of the shelf. And so I used my foot to pull my phone off of the counter or like the shelf, and then I grabbed my phone and like opened up Twitch chat so I could look at it and talk to them or see if they could hear me. And they were just like, "Yeah, like end the stream, go to the hospital, like call 911."
So
And
chat saved your life.
well, I mean, I still called 911 myself on my phone, but
Yeah.
I called 911. Anyways, I tried to like I couldn't end the stream, so they were just there. They were just hanging out with me while I'm just like struggling on the ground, like losing lung capacity because air was escaping out of my lungs into my chest cavity and crushing my lungs. And so I was like I
Piling on top. Jeez.
and so
Air was
eventually,
killing you.
yeah, air that I couldn't breathe because it wasn't in my lung; it was on the outside of my lung. And so
Very
I
scary.
did eventually call. I did call 911. I got them on the phone, and they were like on their way. It felt like a long time while I was sitting on the ground. It wasn't really a long time before 911 came. I think it was probably about 20 minutes before after I like got on the ground before the ambulance arrived. And then once they arrived, they had to get in. And I was the only one
Right.
home. And all of the doors are locked. And so but I have a key. There's a key, a hidden key outside.
Okay.
And so I told them I told the 911 operator the key is in this certain thing. You just have to look in this certain place. And it's by this thing, but it might be under a little bit of stuff, so you just have to find it. And so they don't find it. They can't find it. And so I'm telling them, like, no, it's there. And it just, you gotta fucking just look for it. It's there. That's where it is. And they don't find it. They can't find the key. And so they're probably there looking for the key for like 5 minutes by
You just hear them like rustling.
yeah, I heard them outside the house. Yeah, and it was at that point I was getting really frustrated because I knew it was there because no one moves it, no one takes it away. That's where it is. That's what it's for. An extra spare key in case it's needed. If it's ever used, it goes back there. And they just cannot find it. And so they're looking for another way to get in. Of course, the back door is locked. Luckily, somehow, one of the windows at the back of the house were unlocked on the deck, like over top of like a table. And so they opened up the window and crawled in through the window, which is probably, it's like a 2x3 window. So it's not a big window. It's like
Not a big
small room for them to get in. And so they get in, and then they unlock the door for the rest of them to get in. And they get upstairs, and they just tell me, like, no, the key isn't there, just so you know. And I'm like, no, you're wrong. And then she's like, no, you're wrong. The key isn't there. And that, I was mad. Because, like, it's there. It is there right now. And so I just got mad about that and that was just extra time for me to just be laying on the ground with the hole in my fucking lungs. Yeah, just literally dying, pretty much. And they
If they care that this key wasn't there, instead of just being like, whatever, we're in, let's get you help.
well, it's just like she was trying to make a point to that, be like, yeah, like it isn't there, by the way, just in case it's like you ever need to like get in again. But I was just like, oh, that pissed me off so much because, bitch, you're wrong. It's there, motherfucker. Anyways, they start asking me questions, blah blah blah. Meanwhile, I'm just like, oh yeah, before this is actually right away. I was just like, yeah, I'm live streaming right now on my computer. Can you go and end the stream, please? Because I can't. Like, I can't get up and physically end the stream. And so
you have to walk them through.
and so one of the paramedics, and like the younger guy, goes up to the it's not a complicated setup, just two monitors, mouse and keyboard, basic business. And the guy's like turns around, looks at me, and it's like, oh, it says you're disconnected. I was like, no, dipshit, that's the fucking game. Like, that's the fucking... I said, look at the right monitor. There's, like, one monitor with the OBS open, and the left monitor is the game. And she's like, he's like, oh yeah, actually it's ended. It says you're disconnected. It's like, no, you fucking idiot. Look at the other one. You see where it says, see the fucking stream on the other monitor? And,
has stuff happening on it.
And the one with chat going fucking ham, like, hey, they were literally telling him how to end the stream in chat. And he couldn't see the monitor or some shit. And so I was just like, no, it just end stream on it's the other monitor. That's the one with the fucking OBS open. The one with the stream shit on it. Just see the big red button that says stop streaming? Press that one. It couldn't be more obvious. He couldn't figure it out. And so I just told him, okay, just close the window and then it'll end automatically. Like, you can't get more obvious than that. And so he manages to do that. He was able to figure out how to find the big red button in the top right corner, but he couldn't find the fucking bigger big red button on the fucking whole right side of the fucking screen. And
I'm surprised they even went through the time to do this as you're just laying on the
well,
floor dying that
well,
they
the
were just like, okay, let's go.
well,
First
the
of all, they
thing
wanted
is,
to
like, are we?
explain to you about the key.
Well,
It's not there. And you're like, it's there, I'll show you later.
oh
And then
my
you're like,
god.
stop this chat. And they're
Well,
like, oh, okay. How does chat?
not like two of like there were three paramedics. One of them was trying to figure out the computer. The other two were
The
like
other one was
talking to me,
complaining
asking
about
me.
the key.
Yeah. The other two were like talking to me, like trying to figure out what was going on. Blah blah blah. And so it's not like I wasn't like it wasn't really holding anything up because it's not like I can talk to three people at once anyways. And so I was just like you just like say something like every little while. He's like, yeah, no, it's already disconnected. Anyways, uh, they he manages to just close OBS and it just ends the stream automatically because I didn't want to just leave stream open with nobody home for who knows how long while I'm just at the hospital and just nothing. It's just streaming nothing. Like I don't know. I didn't want to. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to make sure it was ended before I left the house, and so and I didn't really want the stream to know like how I was getting diagnosed and everything like that. Blah blah
Right.
blah. And I don't know, just like personal questions could have come up. Whatever. And so they were talking to me and they just couldn't figure out what was going on. And so they was like, yeah, I don't think this is a heart attack, but I don't know what is happening to you. So and she was like, so the bad news is we have to go to the hospital. And I was like, no, that's why I called you. That's good news. Take me to the fucking hospital. Like that, why would I have called you if I didn't think I needed to go to the hospital? No shit. We need to go to the hospital. And
They're
so
like, we don't know what's going on, but we're gonna leave now. We got somewhere else to go. If anything else
uh,
happens, give us a call.
and yeah, so I was just like, yeah, no, please take me to the hospital. I agree. That's a good idea. That's the best idea you guys have had all day. Jesus fucking Christ. And so and then she's just like, okay, but we've got two options. Option one is we could put you on the stretcher or whatever. Like, I don't even. They described it really fucking weirdly, and like they didn't even call it a stretcher. They're like, we got two options. We'll put you on like this, like the scooper thingy where we can like then like bump you, like carry you down the stairs, but it's gonna be bumpy and awkward, and you're gonna be at an angle or whatever, so it'll be uncomfortable and it might hurt whatever's going on a little bit more. Um, and I was just like, and then option two was we could give you laughing gas and then you can walk yourself out. Option two is a lot better for us, a lot easier for us. So we want you to do option two. And I was just like, okay, I guess, but like, I don't think I can walk. Like, I can't get up. Like,
So can you breathe in laughing gas with like a hole in your?
well, that's the thing. We didn't know I had a hole in my lung at the time, and neither did
They had
they.
to just put more stuff in you.
Yeah, no fucking shit. But clearly, they were. It was apparent that they really did not want to carry me out.
Sounds like they didn't want to carry you.
They, yeah, they really wanted me to walk myself out, and so it's just like, I don't fucking fine. Whatever is faster to get me to the fucking hospital, man. And so I was just like, okay, let's do the laughing gas. Like I don't care. Just take me to the hospital, please. And so they go out and grab the laughing gas canister, or whatever, just like this canister of compressed air with like a little face mask on it. And then she like told me to put it on my face and said like, yeah, it's just gonna make you like kind of go. It's gonna kind of make you. I forgot how she described it, but I was just like, yeah, she said it's basically gonna make it so it's not gonna hurt. Like you won't be feeling any pain anymore. Like it's not gonna be hurting while you're on the laughing gas. And I was like, all right, that sounds really good to me. So sure. And so we put the laughing gas on, and they like prop me up and help me up. And so they get me standing, and I just start walking down the stairs, fucking loopy as hell. And it feels like I was in a dream. even though it's not actually what it feels like when I'm in a dream. It felt like the trippiest. It's like it felt like I was passing out the entire time I was on the laughing gas. Like I was almost in like this trance-like state where I just wasn't really conscious, but I was kind of conscious. But I was just doing. But like I was
A
just like
lucid dream, kind of.
kind of, yeah, like it just I couldn't feel anything. Basically, I couldn't feel anything. I was just whole. I could control myself, but I couldn't feel what I was doing. Like I couldn't really feel the laughing gas thing that I was holding to my face, and I was just like walking around, but I was like super light, and I didn't feel the like huge pressure in my chest anymore. And so I was just like, I just started doing it, and as I was going, I remember like continuing it, and like it felt like as I continued, like I just like was about to pass out the whole time. Like it felt like I was on the verge of going unconscious. And for all I know, I very well could have been, because who knows how much oxygen I was like actually getting and pumping, like
Yeah.
like getting to my brain or whatever at the time. And I was just like sucking on this laughing gas all the way out the house, and the ambulance is parked up front, so I go and stand outside the fucking right behind the back of the ambulance, just like barely conscious, felt like I was like half awake, half asleep, felt so fucking weird and out of place and just fucking weird. Like I was in a dream, but I wasn't. It was the weirdest thing that I've ever felt. Like I have this thing, a medical condition called vasovagal syncope, where sometimes I'll get super stressed out about something, like, and it's almost always going to be bodily harm related, not necessarily my own bodily harm, but just something,
Mm.
some bodily harm. And it just, the entire time it felt like I was having like a vasovagal syncope like episode where I was like, I would have it and then I would just pass out. Like what would happen if I had like an episode, I would just like, I would basically just like trip out and go unconscious, and then I would wake up like I was in this like state of like the aether. Like I was just like not like I wasn't in my own head anymore, and I would slowly come back to myself. The entire time I was on the laughing gas, not no no not the entire time, but like as the laughing gas progressed, it just felt like I was more and more heading towards that state. But it's like it was like a backwards, it was like I was going into it backwards rather than just going completely knocked out and then coming back to reality. It was like reality was like faded. It was just it was so fucking strange. Um
That's odd. Yeah, that sounds weird.
and then so I'm just there standing outside the ambulance. I just remember thinking, I'm like, holy shit, I probably look like such a fucking goof right now in my fucking pajamas and t-shirt, holding this laughing gas and like whack ass hair. Like, I don't even know. It's just like, and then they pull out the stretcher and they're just like, oh, get in, lay down. I'm just like, okay. And I just lay down the stretcher and they
Just
just,
show them where the key was first.
no. Oh, I should have done that, but that was definitely not priority at the moment. So I did not. I should not have done that, and I didn't do that. um, and yeah, I was extremely uncomfortable, but I didn't. It was totally mentally uncomfortable because I knew my body wasn't happy.
Right.
And that's really where the vasovagal syncope stems from. It's because it's like once I figured out how my body works, thinking about ways that it isn't working fucks with me hard. And so I just don't like that. I just don't like that. And I remember, and anyways, yeah, I'm in the hospital, and she's just, or not in the hospital, and I'm in the, I'm in the ambulance, and she's just like talk to me. She's like, so the thing is with the laughing gas, you can have as much or as little of it as you want. Um, well, no, that's what she said. You can have as much or as little of it as you want. And then I was like, okay, I'll just fucking go for as much of it then.
Sucking on this.
I was just leave it on my fucking face then. I don't want to feel this thing, so I'm just gonna keep using it. And then she said, the other thing about laughing gas is that they don't allow it in the hospital because of COVID and it's an airborne thing. And I was like, so you're telling me that I'm not going to be able to keep using this? And I was just not happy about that. And so I think in the hospital or in the ambulance, I don't know exactly, but I think they gave me an IV in the ambulance, so they could give me some painkillers, because once I got to the hospital, I just remember that, or at least as well as something to calm me down, like something, because my heart was really high, my heart rate was really high because I was just like panicking,
Yeah.
and yeah, so I eventually started weaning myself off of the laughing gas, knowing I wasn't going to be able to use it once we got to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
But luckily the IV painkiller had kicked in, or had started kicking in, because those kick in a lot faster than oral painkillers, that's for sure. Because it's just straight into the bloodstream. And I get to the hospital, and I basically am then brought to the the emergency section, like the waiting room. Except I had like my own fucking wheelchair going on. And
that's nice.
yeah, I just had a wheelchair, and so I was able to kind of sit back, but the thing is, in the wheelchair, I wasn't able to lay down on my back anymore. So just like I was a lot more uncomfortable then because I couldn't be laying down. I'm just there in the waiting room now with everybody else in the waiting room in emergency. I was waiting in emergency for probably about from 5 p.m. to, I don't know, maybe at 5:30 p.m. to about 12:30-ish before I actually saw a fucking doctor. And
you
I
just had a hole in your lung this whole time.
Yeah, and we just didn't know, right? And of course, they just, I don't know, I guess there were a lot of people. There were a lot of people there, but I guess that's not a fucking priority. This fucking hole in my lung, crushing my lungs. And so I go and take an X-ray. Like around 12, I get to go take an X-ray, and then I get to talk to a doctor at like 12:30, and they're just like, so yeah, you've got something that is called a pneumothorax. So there's a hole in your lungs right now, and the hole is escaping air into your chest cavity and crushing your lungs. And so your right lung is at about 20% capacity right now. And I was just like, what the fuck? And
I was just sitting here this whole time.
I've just been sitting here this whole time, letting air out of my fucking lungs into my chest cavity, collapsing my lung. Yeah, so my right lung had collapsed to 20% capacity. And and then from that point on, there was just like, I was with the doctor, so I was actually getting 1-to-1 treatment. And so they brought me into the surgical room, and they gave me like a bunch, or I don't even know what they gave me. They gave me like something for the anxiety. They gave me fentanyl, so I would be like tripping out. And because I asked them like, well, they explained to me what they were gonna do, and they were like, so we're gonna stick a tube inside your chest to drain the air. And I was just like, okay, I'm like freaking out. I can't be conscious while you're doing that. Like, I can't be aware of what you're doing, because I'm gonna, like, this is a nightmare for me. And so the doctor's like, okay, yeah, we're gonna give you something to take you out of, to take you out of it. And so you won't remember a thing. And so they bring me in, and they're just like, so yeah, we're gonna give you like a little bit, we're gonna give you this fentanyl, and so that's gonna make you not remember anything. And I was like, well, what about like experiencing? I don't want to experience it either. And well, at this point, I don't really remember anything, but I did experience it.
Yeah.
And they also gave me like I like numbing, and like they like iced it up or whatever, and like totally numbed the area. But yeah, they just like I was like tripping out on fentanyl, just all loopy and back in this dream state, but a lot more so now because I'm like on fentanyl, because that was whack. I don't definitely not a feeling I want to feel again, but it
Yeah.
definitely took me out of the like uh direct experience. I still and the thing is, I definitely didn't forget everything. Like I didn't like I do remember like sort of what was going on there. And I remember them. I don't really remember what it felt like because I was looking away. My head was totally the other direction. I was
Yeah.
totally numbed on my whole right side and where they were doing it, and so I couldn't feel anything. But I remember them talking and all that, and they're like doing their thing, and they like stuck the fucking tube in my chest, and I couldn't really feel it, but I could feel them doing stuff. I couldn't feel the pain, and they stuck it in, and then there was like and then I remember vividly them going like, well, I stuck it in, but like why isn't the dial going? Why isn't it working? And and then you're just like, oh, well, the guide wire's still in. And I was just like, Jesus fucking Christ, man.
What was still in?
The guide wire for the
Oh my
chest tube, I
gosh.
guess. Yeah,
Oh
so
my.
it's like, all right, buddy, like Jesus Christ.
I don't want to hear you finding out
I
new
don't.
discoveries right now.
I don't want to hear you trying to figure out how to do this properly. I just want it to be done, man. And uh and then he like took the guide wire out or whatever, and it's like, okay, there we go, good, it's working. Awesome, it's like is working, and I'm just like, yeah, fucking good, better be working. Goddamn. um and so it's just like fucking my air's draining out of my fucking chest cavity. um and then I'm just sort of like, I don't remember exactly what happened from like how long for how long until the X-ray. But I got another X-ray um while I was still in that chair, and then that just an X-ray to check up on like, where they put the fucking tube in my chest and the status of my
Yeah.
lungs, blah blah blah. And they told me, the doctor tells me, he's just like, so when I stuck the chest tube in, you normally try and stick the chest tube in, it goes up here right along the lining of the, I don't know, the chest cavity up beside the lungs. Well, when we put it in, when we stuck it in you, it got to here, and it kind of kinked and went down and over here. And I was just like, uh,
That doesn't sound good.
okay. And he's just like, which is fine. It's not where it's not what I was where I was trying to put it, but it should do what it should still do its job where it is.
Should.
Yeah, it should still be fine. And I'm just like, God fucking damn it, man. Why did you tell me that? Why did you tell me that? Why didn't you just, like, say, yeah, the chest tube's in, it's draining air. Don't tell me that it's in the place. Don't tell me it's not where you tried to put it. God fucking damn it. And,
Oh my gosh.
God,
That's awful.
it was something. It was something. And like, fuck, man, that's not even the worst of it. Like, the worst of the pain. Like, like I was there for like probably another hour or two. No, like a couple hours, probably till like around 3 in the morning. And they're just like, all right, we're sending you home with the chest tube in your chest, and it's going to continue to
It's
like to
supposed to
drain.
work.
Yeah, where it's going to continue to drain your fucking chest cavity, and it's supposed to work. And so come back on Monday morning because this was, I guess this was Saturday. Saturday like three in the morning then at the time. No. I went in on Saturday at 5 p.m. I was like, this was then Sunday at 3 in the morning, and they were just like, yeah, come back on Monday morning, and we'll do an X-ray, and we should be able to take the chest tube out, and you should be good to go. Because the lungs in theory, should just seal themselves up on their own. Well, I wake up at about. Sorry?
Or it just didn't.
Well, yeah, so I wake up the next day after going to bed with this chest tube in me at my own house. I wake up at like 12 ish. Maybe, no, it was probably like 1 ish. Um, and I was in a lot of pain, and I was just like, "Oh, this fucking sucks." And I'm like, and I tried to sit up, and it's just like, ugh. It was like the same thing where it was like my fucking lungs were getting crushed,
Oh my gosh.
and I was
stop working.
that's so it seemed, and so I was back in that pain. But it was worse this time because I had a chest tube in me, and so that itself
Right.
was hurting too. So now I was even more pain than the first time. And so I was just like, I can't do this. And like, I was trying to breathe, and it was like my lungs were constricted again, and it was not, like, it was clearly not doing what it was supposed to. And I was sort of just like, I'm not gonna wait and try and deal with this until fucking Monday. I'm calling the ambulance right now, and I'm going back to the hospital. And so
people who can't find the key to get in.
luckily it was a different group this time, but I was also so I was actually so I was upstairs, and I was just like, you know what? I'm not gonna do this thing again where they're gonna laugh and gas me, because I know that there's a hole in my chest now, and I don't know if that's a good idea. And so I'm laying on my back, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna take it upon myself and just walk myself down the stairs on a fucking flat angle where my back is just completely parallel to the ground, and like, but I'm just like walking myself down and just like bumping my head down the stairs as I go.
Oh gosh.
And I was just like trying to like support my head a little bit with my arms, but I couldn't really do that too much, or else I would put myself at an angle. So
Yeah.
that was something. And so they get there. Luckily, my sister's boyfriend got home like 5 minutes before the ambulance got there, so he was able to unlock the door for them. And so we didn't even have to worry about the fucking thing, because not only was it like a different crew, but this time the responder fucking hung up on me. They didn't even wait until the ambulance got there. Yeah.
They'll find it.
Yeah, no, they didn't even like talk about. They just like they sent the ambulance, and they just fucking hung up. Like, what? What? And I was just like, oh.
Pretty bad.
So I
Are they
was.
supposed to be the ones there to comfort you while everything's happening?
Oh yeah,
Give you the
definitely.
updates?
Yeah, so I like, fuck that guy. That's another person. Fuck you too. So like, fuck the first lady who couldn't find the key because it was there. Fuck the first guy who was the second responder, because he just fucking hung up on me. Didn't even advise them, ask them like if I was home alone to like figure out to get the doors unlocked or anything.
Longest time of your life too. Them leading up to you having to wait for the ambulance to show up. It's like, I hope they're coming.
Yeah, and the other thing is, this time they were coming from like another city, so it took them like 20 minutes to get there. And so I was just laying on the hardwood floor just waiting. And so they get there, and this time I'm on the floor of the main floor, just like, okay, well, the laughing gas wasn't even like an option. They just grabbed the claw, and the claw is like a stretcher that splits into two down the length of it. And so they just put it on either side and just like shove it underneath me. and like clamp it together, and they just carry me out to the ambulance, and um they I think they put another IV in so they could start pumping me with painkillers once I got into the ambulance, because they didn't do the laughing gas that time. And yeah, so I got to the hospital that time, and they just brought me straight back into not the emergency room. Luckily, thank God this time they didn't fucking bring me back to emergency. They just brought me straight through emergency, and they just brought me back into the operating room, back to the chair that I got, or back to the bed where I got the fucking tube in.
Like, I've been here. This didn't work.
Yeah, exactly. And they started like checking everything out or whatever, like did another x-ray, and it was like, oh yeah, lungs like almost fully collapsed again. Gee, fucking and then so they decide, well, the solution, or yeah, the solution was then that they were going to plug me into a suction thing. So they plugged the tube into like a suction, like a slow suction thing that plugged into the wall, that was just like sucking the air out of my chest then.
Like a weird vacuum.
Yeah, exactly. And it felt extremely weird, but it seemed to be working. And so, hey, yay. I'm happy about that. And so I was just there, like, plugged into the wall, like, for, like, quite a few hours. It was like, okay, well, I think, we're gonna leave you on this, and we're going to just let you, we're gonna leave you on this for, like, a few days and see what happens, and we're gonna try and, see if the lung will heal on itself while this thing is sucking out the air out of your fucking chest cavity. Because in theory, the lung, if it's just like a little slit or cut in the lung should be able to heal itself back up together quite quickly, like within a day, they were thinking. Like within a day, it would at least seal itself back up, and then it would be like a slow, like, healing process to like get reinforced or whatever, like, I don't know, any kind of cut. But so they moved me to like an inpatient room upstairs on the 6th floor, and so I'm just I'm in there with another patient. Just now I'm just plugged into this wall, and I'm in there for a few days. And so if like I was in there for, yeah, probably a few days, and they're just like, all right, the we're gonna clamp up the suction, and we're going to see if the we're clamp up the suction, do an x-ray, and see the status of what's going on. So they clamp it up at around 12 a.m., so midnight of I don't remember what night it is at this point, because I had been there for a few days. And so they plug it up, and then they're just like, oh yeah, so we're gonna go do the x-ray. And she's just like, oh no, we're gonna do the x-ray tomorrow morning. And I'm just like,
what?
Okay, so I'm just gonna be sitting here with this thing clamped for like 8 hours, or like, no, 6 a.m. They said 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. And I was just like, okay. So I'm gonna be there, sitting there with this thing clamped. Originally, I was told I was gonna get this thing clamped at 11 p.m. and gonna go get an x-ray. So then at 12 a.m. midnight, I get it clamped, and it was like, no, we're gonna get the x-ray tomorrow morning. And I was like, I mean, you guys are the expert, okay, but like, wouldn't it make a little bit of sense to get an x-ray like right now? And in like 8 hours, so you could see the difference, like, see if it is.
But wait, why are we waiting?
Mm-hmm. Exactly, and so, and like, why not both? And she's just like, no, we're gonna do it like at 6 in the morning. I was like, fuck, okay. I mean, you guys know what you're doing, apparently. And so we wake up the next day. It's like pretty early. It was past 6 when I wake up, and I'm just like, all right, when are we doing this X-ray?
When are we doing this?
Yeah, and the nurse comes in, and I was like, it's like it's 7 o'clock. They switch shifts, so my next nurse comes in, and I'm just like, hey,
what's going on?
I'm just, yeah. I mean, they kind of have a brief idea of, but they don't know like the story, you know. And so like they come in and I was like, hey, I was supposed to get an X-ray at 6. Or what's going on with that? And she's like, oh yeah, we're gonna go for the X-ray at 8. And I'm just like, okay, all right.
Like an important thing.
That's, I mean, as long as it happens, I guess. Apparently, that's all that matters. Doesn't matter when. Apparently, it just matters at some point. I need the X-ray.
Wow, this thing's still clamped.
Yeah, and it's still clamped. The tube that's leaking, that draining the air, is clamped, so it is not draining air anymore.
Doing nothing, yeah.
And so I was just like, all right, okay, okay, and so I finally go to get the X-ray at 10 that day, and it's just like, and then they come back at like, I don't know, like an hour or so later, and it's like, oh yeah, it's not working. We need to unclamp it and plug it back in. And this time, the lady just unclamps it and just plugs it in at twice the draw that it was at the first time. And I was like, oh, that hurts, stop.
Oh, no.
And so they reclamp it, and I was just like, why did you do that? It hurt a lot. And she was like, oh, well, the doctor said, turn on the suction. We normally do it at 20, and I was just like, well, we weren't doing it at 20 the whole time. We were always doing it at 10. Why are we doing it at 20 now? And she was like, well, we normally do it at 20, but we weren't doing it. We were never doing it at 20. And then it turned into, well, the doctor said this, and the nurse did this, and then I was just like, well, I don't know, and then they brought the doctor in and the nurse in at the same time, so, because there was apparently some confusion. Apparently they were supposed to start the suction slow, and then slowly take it up to 20, but the nurse just took it as, just turn it on at 20. And
walk away.
Yeah, and so apparently the doctor had I don't even know what was supposed to have been done and what was even told originally, but eventually they were just like, okay, yeah, we're gonna start it back at 10, and then we're just gonna slowly raise it up to 20. And I was just like, cool, yay! All right. Sounds good, man.
Yeah.
And they were just like, all right. And then later they were just talking to me and like, so clearly it's not healing on its own. So yeah. And so we're going to, you're gonna be transported to the other hospital in like a nearby, like the next city over, and because they've got a thoracic surgeon specialist over there, which this thoracic, I guess, means just like the chest organs, i.e. the lungs and the heart. And so just like, take me to the specialist, please. That sounds fucking wonderful. And so they take me over there, and they're just like, yeah, clearly, it's not healing on its own, so we're gonna have to do surgery and do a little snippy, chop off the part that blew up, essentially, and then with it.
Back together.
Well, no, because how it's explained to me, they're gonna, how I envision it and how basically it's explained, like basically one of the ends of your lungs, like, because you know how it splits off, and then it gets really small and splits off into like a little sac, and the sac is where it like absorbs all of the air or whatever. one of those became cystic, like it was a cyst, and then like it exploded. So that's why it wasn't healing on its own, because it was just basically a tunnel that led to like this big gaping hole. Um, and so it wasn't healing back together because it wasn't like touching each other. Like it was just like a void, like a floppy, like a flopped open, like a, imagine like a balloon at the end of like an air hose that's just constantly being filled with air to the point where it exploded, and it's just continually being filled with air, but now it's a hole. So it's just like flapping around. And so it's not going to heal on its own because it has no way to heal itself. It's not going to pull itself back together. And so what they did is they went in and they snipped it off. And so the area got super inflamed and sealed itself back up at the tunnel way, essentially, so that it would be able to touch, and it sealed itself up through the inflammation and rehealed while it was inflamed and touching and like basically squishing itself, and or just like just inflamed, and the wound was able to close itself up and heal in that while it was inflamed. And so, and then after the surgery, I was probably there for another couple days on the suction, and then they finally took the suction off, and it was just like, okay, but they didn't clamp it this time because like. Why? Like, if it wasn't working, why would they clamp it? Like, the clamping is unnecessary. They don't need to clamp it.
Yeah.
Just like fucking, just turn off the suction.
Yeah.
And so they did that, and they're just like, yeah, it's looking good. It's like kind of draining a little bit of air every once in a while, but it's not like a constant airflow. And yeah, so to my knowledge, that worked, and it is healed. It's healed to the point where it's sealed. It's still healing, and of course, all the holes in the hole where the tube was in, that's still healing. But for the most part, it's like all good, and just like a matter of time till I'm back to like 100% again.
That's good.
Yeah.
All that, and Jake still couldn't text you.
Yeah, no. Not the one single, holy shit, hope you're good. And that's, I mean, to be honest, that's more than I was expecting. Oh, but
well, that's crazy.
yeah, that was the by far the worst physical thing that I've ever experienced in my life. Like that week and a half was like that's hell. That was my hell. Envisioning that was going back there is the last thing I want to do. I don't want that. So yeah, and that's why I don't think I'm ever gonna smoke weed or anything again ever. I just no.
You hear that, kids? Don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs. It's not worth
about
it.
Weed not being able to hurt you, it fights back.
Yeah, well, it's like the thing is, it's like you can say all you want about weed, but smoking weed, you're still fucking inhaling smoke, and that is never good. And that is, yeah. There's no argument that you can make that smoking weed is not harmful. That is just flat out wrong.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Oh, stay away. Well, I think that's where we gotta call it.
Yeah, I mean,
so.
Yeah, we've been going for a little while here. The story kind of ran on. It's just,
There's a lot to fit in.
Yeah, I mean, this is true. This is true.
A lot to cover, from not being able to find the keys to not being able to end the stream. Using a clamp when you don't need to.
Oh my god! Not being able to leave the hospital because I don't know what the fuck's going on. Just
leaving and then coming back.
Yeah. Oh my.
All that's after that being like, maybe we should get the specialist involved.
Yeah, it's like apparently it took them like I mean I guess they ran through all of the steps that were more likely before they figured out, yeah, it's not healing on its own. But it's just like, it was just a horrible experience. And don't smoke, kids. Don't smoke weed. Don't smoke cigarettes. Don't smoke vapes. Like, we don't even know what those do. Those have not been around long enough. It's like, remember smoking weed or smoking cigarettes in the 60s? That's what everybody did. And smoking cigarettes inside, and now we actually know what they do because there's been enough time. It's like, we don't even know what vape juice does yet. All right? So it
Don't
just
be the guinea pig.
don't be the guinea pig. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for tuning in. If you made it this far, you found some of this entertaining, so you might as well like and subscribe and stay tuned for more. We'll keep you updated as they keep coming out. Check out the Instagram, and we can put in some pictures and maybe just...
Yep, arguably official on Instagram, arguably a podcast on YouTube, arguably a podcast on everywhere you get your podcasts.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys for sticking around. Catch you in the next one.
Peace.
Bye.